Hey everybody, and welcome to lore play number 3 of Dark Forces. Last time we talked a little bit about the Dark Trooper and how they were a part of the Empire's retaliation after the loss of the Death Star. We found an Imperial repeater rifle, and on it were inscribed the initials of Moff Rebus, who is our next lead in learning more about the Dark Trooper. In today's video, we'll be finding him in his hidden base in the sewers of Anoat City, and I'll talk about Anoat City, Rebus, and Dyan Oguz, because this level is riddled with them. Let's start with this place we're in now. This is actually supposed to be an abandoned city, but if I didn't know any better, I would think the entire place was the sewage complex we're looking for. This is Anoat City, located on the planet Anoat, which is very close to both Hoth and Bespin. You might remember Han and Leia commenting that they were in the Anoat sector and that there wasn't much there. Well, that sector was named after this planet for some reason. In Legends, the planet was discovered and colonized by miners shortly after the Clone Wars, so it's not very old. The workers quickly damaged the ecosystem of the planet, and its atmosphere became too heavily polluted for long-term settlement. What's strange is that the sector is named Anoat. Bespin and even Hoth were discovered well before this backwater planet, so why isn't it called the Bespin sector? Why Anoat? I guess it's possible some guy named Anoat named the sector, and then a bunch of really unoriginal people named the planet once it was discovered. I mean, the city is also named Anoat City, so they probably weren't the most creative bunch. Anyway, this was a remote and disgusting planet that I guess makes for a perfect hideout, which is why Moff Rebus is here. I should probably talk about why we're going through all this effort to catch this guy. Like I mentioned, he designed the weapons that were carried by the Dark Troopers. He had a reputation as a quirky genius, but he was arrogant and proudly wrote his initials on every weapon he developed. His initials on the Imperial repeater rifle mean he is our only lead in the Dark Trooper project at this point, so here we are, trudging through the sewer. In my opinion, setting up shop in the city itself is already out of the way enough, but Rebus also had a reputation as being highly paranoid, so he literally chose the crappiest part of this crappy planet to make his home. That's a poop joke. We have to make our way through this maze of sewers and flip levers to make more sewage and fill up this one tank enough to proceed. By the way, where is all this sewage coming from? So far all we've seen are droids and Dyan Oguz, but there are literally waterfalls of sewage. You'd think an abandoned planet would have less. I guess I don't know how big Rebus's operation was, but I think this is a little overkill. The main enemies in this map are Imperial probe droids, of which there are far too many, ITO interrogator droids, and Dyan Oguz. I don't know why there's so many interrogator droids floating about. I imagine Kyle gets pricked by so many truth serums he's just running around screaming his secrets as they echo into the sewers. But let's talk Dyan Oguz, because they are plentiful here. Most of this will come from Legends simply because there's more information there, but I would be surprised if the new canon ever took the time to contradict any of it. Dyan Oguz were originally from the planet Vodran. They were generally just scavengers, eating what they could find rather than hunting live prey. They were also transparent when on an empty stomach, and they took on the color of whatever they ate. These Dyan Oguz are brown, so I wonder what they've been eating. Also, they're probably sick of their current diet, and it makes sense that they would attack Kyle. Dyan Oguz larvae were microscopic, so they were easily able to stow away onto garbage ships undetected and then grow to full size. That's a possible explanation on the existence of the Dyan Oguz in the Death Star. It could have transferred from a connected garbage ship to the trash compactor as a larva and then grown up inside. Or it's possible it was purposefully placed there by the Empire to help break down any organic material and leave behind only recyclable plastics and metals. Okay, back to the sewers here. After flipping all the levers and filling the main sewer, we finally have access to Rebus's hideout. How does he get in and out of this place? Does he literally solve this puzzle and trudge through all this poodoo every single time? Does he ever run out for groceries and get home only to realize he forgot to get milk and have to go through it all again? Maybe he gets Dr. Ball to run his errands for him.
Good God, man, I'm a doctor, not a savage!
Also, he has a few random Gran working for him. The Gran can be seen in the films on a couple occasions. One named Rhys was at Jabba's palace, there were a couple of senators, and a pod racer. They had 3 eyes and the ability to see in infrared, which would definitely come in handy in the sewers. The Gran were generally a peaceful race, and I know I'm putting so much more thought into this than the developers ever intended, but I'm gonna do it anyway. What happened to these 3 I just killed that turned them to a life of crime? These enemies are modeled after Rhys because the only Gran that had appeared so far was a criminal with Jabba. Rhys had a deformity that made his hands overgrown, and he was exiled for murder. Gran had a strong need for companionship, and exile was the worst punishment possible for them. So Rhys probably joined up with Jabba's crew of random aliens and criminals because he had nowhere else to go. Since these guys are modeled after Rhys, we could probably assume they have the same deformity and were also exiled, but maybe they were exiled together. Wanting to keep their bond, they were hired together by Moff Rebus to protect his facility. And then Kyle came along and shot them all. Boom. You've been Star Wars explained by a story I just completely made up, answering a question no one in their right mind has ever asked. Well, once we kill the probably deformed and exiled Gran, we have successfully infiltrated the base. Rebus is a weapons designer, so you'd think maybe he would have something awesome in here to fight with, but nope, just some standard E11s and thermal detonators. But whatever. After taking down a few more Dr. Balls, we have Rebus in custody, and he looks awfully pleased to be captured. It's clearly the same asset from before. I love old games. Also, what gun does he have? Because it looks awesome and I want it. But that brings today's lore play to a close. If you missed the first 2, you can check them out right here. If you have any games you'd like to see me cover in the future, leave those in the comments and I'll try to pick the most popular one that I think will fit this format to do next. If you haven't already, please like and share this video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out my Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.